The Soviet-era Mikoyan MiG-29, Fulcrum, an air superiority fighter, was a very popular aircraft. Over 1,600 were built and bought or operated by over 40 countries. Despite initially having conventional flying controls, it could outperform its contemporaries, the F-16 and MiRAGE 2000. The aircraft entered service in 1983 and saw significant operational action. It continues to be in production. Unfortunately, its more advanced and latest variant, the multi-role MiG-35, Fulcrum-F, which made its first flight in December 2016, has had no takers, and only 8 aircraft have been built to date. The Mikoyan Design Bureau of 1939 vintage was a global household name for many decades after WW2. Its MiG-15s had seen great action in the Korean and Vietnam Wars, and over 13,000 were produced. Subsequently, the MiG-23, 25, and 27 were great success. MiG-31 continues to be a formidable platform and is still being built. But, with the success of the Sukhoi Su-27 basic aircraft and its variants, the Sukhoi Design Bureau started taking the lead. The end of the Cold War also saw further consolidation of the Russian aircraft industry, and in 2006, Mikoyan became a division of the United Aircraft Corporation in a merger with Ilyushin, Irkut, Sukhoi, Tupolev, and Yakovlev. The capacity to push MiG-35 in global markets was reduced. MiG-35's capability advantage over upgraded variants of MiG-29s was very nominal. It is interesting to understand the dynamics. The Mikoyan MiG-35 is essentially an upgraded multi-role variant of MiG-29, a further development of the MiG-29M, M2, claimed to be 4++ generation. The aircraft was presented to international customers at the 2017 Moscow Air Show. It currently has a PESA radar, and an option for an AESA radar is available. The serial production aircraft does not have thrust vectoring control, as previously planned. The first 2 serial production aircraft entered service in 2019. In the late 1980s, the MiG-35 was originally planned to be a single-engine combat aircraft for air-to-air and secondary air-to-ground roles, more like the Indian LCA envisaged at that time. But seeing India's MMRCA competition unfold, Russia unveiled a model of MiG-29M that was given the temporary name MiG-35, for marketing and export purposes at the 2007 Aero India Air Show in Bangalore. By 2013, the Russian Air and Space Forces wanted to order 37 aircraft. The figures later went up to 170. Yet another new MiG-35 variant with a Russian non-removable NPK-SPPOLSK electro-optical targeting and surveillance system pod, mounted directly to the aircraft below the right, starboard, fuselage on the engine nacelle in front of the elevators, was announced. It was capable of detecting ground targets up to 20 kilometers and sea targets up to 40 kilometers. Serial production MiG-35s are now equipped with a PESA radar of the Zhuk family. Russia also offered the new Phasatron Zhuk A AESA radar for the export market. In June 2019, Russian aerospace forces received the first 2 serially produced MiG-35s. These had revised tail fins, upgraded Klimov RD-33MK engines with 9-ton thrust, and an active array AESA radar capable of tracking up to 30 targets simultaneously. The number of weapon stations has increased to 9, similar to MiG-29 M2. The MiG-35 was planned to launch the Kh-36 Grom-1 cruise missile, giving it a longer-range strike capability than the MiG-29. In May 2021, MiG-35 received a preliminary certificate for limited series production even as it was undergoing state joint trials. It was claimed that the flight range had increased by 50%, and radar visibility had been reduced. The maximum payload was 6.5 tons. The plans for a thrust vectoring variant of MiG-35 were cancelled but could be introduced on customer request. A carrier-based version of the MiG-35 is reportedly also under development. Reports in 2023 suggested that the aircraft had entered production and was being used operationally in the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Clearly, the Russians themselves were a little confused about the type of variant MiG-35 they would be. Finally, they settled for an upgraded version of the MiG-29. It is akin to the F-16 Block 70/72 being renamed F-21 that the US is offering to India. Most countries did not see any value addition to their inventories. Russia is currently at war in Ukraine. It is also under Western economic sanctions. Most of its aircraft factories are busy with war production requirements. Also, some of the electronic components going on board the aircraft were coming from some European countries, and this route has dried up. A modern fighter aircraft cannot be offered without AESA radar. Russian aircraft exports have been slowing down recently. The financial state of the aircraft corporations is not as healthy as it should be, as exports have been shrinking. Their ability to market has withered. Russian aircraft designers and engineers are still poorly paid and have low motivation. The smarter and better ones moved to the West in the late 1990s, and Russia's global clout is also weakening. Meanwhile, the newer fifth-generation aircraft, the Su-57 and Su-75, are both from the Sukhoi stable. So, clearly, the MiG designs are getting left behind. Egypt, which initially wanted to buy MiG-35 in 2014, finally chose to purchase 46 MiG-29M M2 multi-role fighters instead. MiG-35 remains one of the competitors for India's 114 new MRCA fighters, for which the RFP has still to be sent out. Russia negotiated with Bangladesh for the sale of MiG-35, but it could not be pursued due to a shortage of funds. China has already mastered the making of many Su-27 variants and invested significantly in that basic design. They have bought 24 Su-35s to further copy and reverse engineer them. China never went the Mikoyan route after MiG-21. India has already upgraded its MiG-29s. It is also upgrading the Su-30 MKI fleet. India's significant concentration now is on indigenous LCA Mk2, which will be of a similar, better class than MiG-35. If both China and India don't show interest in a product, the countries of the global south become cautious and wait for a lead. The MiG designers have to think ahead and come out with a futuristic aircraft concept and design, lest the great legacy of Artem Mikoyan and Mikhail Gurevich be consigned to history.